In the annals of human history, few conflicts have been as enduring and contentious as the Israel-Palestine conflict. Our journey begins in the late 19th century with the birth of the Zionist movement. Driven by a longing for a safe haven for Jews who had faced centuries of persecution, the Zionist vision was to establish a Jewish state in Palestine. However, this vision was met with resistance. The Arab population of Palestine, with their own dreams and aspirations for nationhood, viewed this as a direct threat. The stage was set for a clash of national identities and territorial claims. The Zionist movement and the Arab opposition were the two key elements that ignited the initial spark. This spark would later burst into the flames of conflict that we see today. The seeds of this ongoing struggle were sown in these early years, laying the groundwork for a century of strife. The British government's involvement in 1917 through the Balfour Declaration added fuel to the fire. What was this Balfour Declaration, you ask? It was a public statement issued by the British government during World War I, promising to support the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. However, the declaration came with a caveat, stating that nothing should be done to prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. But the ambiguity of these terms led to profound disagreement and conflict. The Arab population, who formed the majority in Palestine, perceived this declaration as a betrayal. They viewed the prospect of a Jewish national home as a direct threat to their own national aspirations. The Balfour Declaration, therefore, intensified the friction between the Jewish and Arab communities, setting the stage for decades of conflict. The promise of a Jewish national home in Palestine by the British government was seen as a direct threat to Arab national aspirations. The UN's proposed partition plan in 1947 was a turning point in this conflict. This plan, proposed by the United Nations, envisioned the creation of two independent states within Palestine, one Jewish, one Arab. The Jewish leadership looking to establish a homeland accepted the plan, but the Arab leadership, viewing the plan as a violation of their national rights, rejected it. This rejection set the stage for what would become the War of 1948. A violent conflict, sparked by the rejection of the partition plan, escalated when the Arab states launched an invasion of Palestine. This first Arab-Israeli war was a grueling struggle, but it ended with the Arab states' defeat and the birth of the State of Israel. The war's aftermath was marked by a massive displacement. Over 700,000 Palestinians were uprooted, becoming refugees. The establishment of the State of Israel and the displacement of over 700,000 Palestinians in the war's aftermath further entrenched the conflict, setting the stage for decades of tension and violence. A series of significant events in the latter half of the 20th century further complicated the conflict. The Six-Day War in 1967 marked a turning point in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Israel, in a preemptive strike, launched a successful attack against Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. The war concluded with a decisive victory for Israel, and the aftermath was transformative for the region. Israel captured significant territories: the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. These territories are still contentious issues today. The victory solidified Israel's position in the region, but it also heightened tensions and resentment among Palestinians and neighboring Arab countries. 20 years later, in 1987, the Palestinian population, frustrated by years of occupation and perceived injustices, rose in a popular uprising known as the First Intifada. The word intifada translates to shaking off, and it was a collective shaking off of Israeli control. For 6 years, Palestinians, including women and children, engaged in acts of civil disobedience, protests, and confrontations with the Israeli Defense Forces. The world watched as images of stone-throwing Palestinian youths confronting armed soldiers became symbolic of the struggle. The First Intifada had a profound impact. It led to a shift in Israeli politics and put the Palestinian issue back on the international stage. It also marked a significant change in Palestinian political dynamics, as the Palestine Liberation Organization found itself grappling with grassroots movements within the territories. The Intifada ended with the signing of the Oslo Accords in 1993, which we will discuss in the next scene. But the important takeaway from this period is clear. The Six-Day War and the First Intifada were pivotal moments that deepened the divide between Israelis and Palestinians, sowing the seeds for future discord. These events, marked by violence and upheaval, deepened the rift between Israelis and Palestinians. Attempts at peace, such as the Oslo Accords, have been overshadowed by continued conflict and violence. The Oslo Accords, signed in 1993, aimed to establish a framework for peace and a two-state solution. Israel and Palestine were set to govern themselves, side by side, in harmony. However, the ink had barely dried when the reality of implementing such an agreement set in. Many on both sides opposed the accords, leading to a breakdown in trust and a rise in violence. Just 7 years after the accords, the Second Intifada erupted, a violent Palestinian uprising against the Israeli occupation. This period saw a tragic loss of life, with thousands of Palestinians and Israelis killed. The violence of the Second Intifada severely undermined any progress made by the Oslo Accords, pushing the dream of a two-state solution even further out of reach. Despite attempts at resolution, the conflict has persisted, with profound human costs on both sides. Today, the conflict remains unresolved, with little progress towards a two-state solution. The backdrop of this ongoing tension is painted with the brushstrokes of countless negotiations, political maneuverings, and tentative agreements, each one a chapter in the story of two nations seeking a place to call home. The current state of affairs is a chessboard of diplomacy where each move is calculated, yet the endgame remains elusive. Both sides continue to engage in dialogue, yet the path to peace appears shrouded in the fog of history, religion, and politics. As we peel back the layers of this intricate narrative, it's crucial to reflect on the impact of these events. History isn't just a timeline of events, it's a tapestry woven with the threads of human lives. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a testament to the complexities of history, religion, and politics. As we navigate these complexities, remember, the pursuit of peace and justice should always be our guiding principle.